Hey guys, welcome to another live show, another live She Knows Arsenal. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel. We are going to be doing a match reaction and some player ratings for Arsenal's really pathetic draw against Everton at the Emirates today. So, yeah, get into the chat. The chat is already on fire. And I want you guys to make sure that you vote on the poll. I didn't do a man of the match because let's be serious. My poll for today is, why didn't we beat Everton today? Was it the lineup, or was it the tactics, or were Everton just good? I'm really interested to see what you guys say, because everybody, a lot of people were excited about the lineup. I was excited about the lineup as well. I think those initial like 10-15 minutes of the game were actually decent for Arsenal. We didn't capitalize on it. We had some good shots, especially like from like Odegaard, or good openings, and he didn't put those away. And then I think once those first 20 minutes went by, we kind of went back into that weird malaise where for about 60 minutes or so, we just kind of don't attack. We don't attack. We don't increase the tempo. We don't move. We're not aggressive. We don't do anything. And this is not the first time that we've seen it. I've always said that I feel like if you can just weather that first 10-15 minutes from Arsenal where we try to attack, then we'll stop trying to attack and it gives you an opportunity. Now, Everton didn't come to the Emirates to win. They came to the Emirates to draw, and that's exactly what they got, because I think Sean Dyche knew if they were disciplined defensively, they didn't give away a bunch of silly corners, and they just blocked our passing lanes, that they would come out of there with something. And with 3 games in the Premier League where we've played against deeper opposition, low blocks, mid blocks, the story has been pretty much the same. It's just whether or not Arsenal can get a set piece goal. Our last 3 goals have been on set pieces. So, I'm looking at it like, I watched that game and I just thought from probably about the 30th, 40th minute, I was like, I just don't see us winning this game when we start off like that, slow, lifeless, like we did against Fulham. It kind of maintains. And so even when Mikel made the changes, because I thought, maybe we could bring in some different personnel. Not only does he change out his DM to help us attack, which I do think that that's, I don't know any manager that's, when they need to score, need to attack, changes their DM. If anything, they take off the DM and go with more numbers, or usually they change the attackers to get more attacking. Mikel is one of the only managers that I know of that when they need a goal, he doesn't commit more numbers. He doesn't, leave just Gabriel and Saliba back and push more men forward, or we don't get more aggressive. He changes out his DM. And I feel like there's, especially within this fan base, there's a lot of emphasis on the DM. And if this DM is in here, then all of our problems will be solved. But we've had 3 games on the bounce where we haven't scored an open play goal, and every single DM was different that started in that game. Rice started today, Jorginho started against Fulham, and Partey started against Man United. And all 3 of those games had very similar themes where we just weren't aggressive. We weren't able to break them down, and we needed something else to get us over the line. And if we didn't get it, we couldn't win the game. And so, you think of Liverpool dropping the points today, which would have been a good opportunity for us to close the gap on them and put on pressure. They didn't play last week and they dropped points this week, and we haven't been able to capitalize. And so it's just another disappointing day at the office, but not necessarily super surprising, because this season has been pretty much a story of Arsenal being unable to attack, score goals. There's no X factor. It's all Saka. If there's players missing, we're just, and we're not really conceding a lot of goals or chances either. It's not like teams are peppering us, but they don't have to. They know that they can just get one opportunity, or like Everton did, just kind of defend and they'll get something, whether it's a draw or nick the win off of a corner or something like that. So we're in a weird space right now where, I'm just wondering how long before we start asking more questions about the manager and whether or not he's the guy, because 5 years into this project, not being able to have a dangerous, dominant, consistent attack. You guys, can you get out from behind me, please? Is not good. Liverpool dropped points after going 10 men down, and they did draw, which was good. But if you look at the numbers from that game, they were still pretty dominant, and they did concede goals mostly because they went a man down. But I just don't really understand why we've accepted this whole idea that we should have no threat. It makes sense if we're going up against a mid-low block. That means that it's inevitable that we don't score goals or we don't create or we don't attack. I don't really get it. So I personally sit on the side of the fence that Mikel is struggling to coach a dangerous attack, and because the club refuses to buy players that can create something out of nothing, having a system, especially against mid and low blocks, that doesn't create an abundance of chances and is very risk adverse and trying to hold onto the ball for dear life so that we don't get caught on the counter, is counterintuitive when you don't have the type of attackers that you need to play this type of football. And so there were some really poor individual performances as well. I thought Odegaard was really poor today. He did start to get Saka into those good positions right before Arteta subbed him off. And I thought he was the worst person on the pitch, like significantly from everyone else. And so I kind of understood the sub. But again, if you want to become more attacking, even as Odegaard was playing really poorly, there was an opportunity to maybe leave the DM and just bring in Ethan as an additional attacker. Because when you take Odegaard off, you do lose a little bit of your attack, even when he's not playing well. And so I kind of understood that. And I got that Arteta was trying to send a message that you guys aren't playing well enough, but it didn't change anything. We still passed slowly. We didn't actually start trying to score goals until the last 2 minutes. But there were times where Timber was in the box and Kai Havertz was in midfield. The way that we attack is so off. We don't create chances for the players that will actually put the ball in the back of the net. We have fullbacks in the box. We have our attackers deep in midfield. It's just, we're crossing for crossing's sake. We're passing for passing's sake. And so I don't know how you guys feel about it. And that's why I want you guys to vote on the poll and then let me know what you think. But was there a different lineup that you think would have gotten a much better result? Understanding that we haven't scored an open play goal in 3 games and those lineups were all different. What do you guys think it is? Is it just that we have to stick with a certain 11? Because even the 11 that people really like has dropped a lot of points this season. We are 9 points different or worse off than we were last season at this stage in terms of dropping points. We have in 2022, we had 43 points at this stage. At 2023, we had 39 points at this stage. And in 2024, now we have 30 points. We're when I say we're going backwards, we are going backwards. And it's not that we're dropping points against the big teams, because a lot of people are like, we played a lot of tough games. Can you guys go? I love you guys, but why are you guys doing this right now? All those toys in the living room. But sorry, my dogs are losing their shit. But yeah, I know that we played a lot of difficult games earlier on in the season, and people are like, yeah, but we got all those hard games out of the way. But we are dropping points to teams that we're not supposed to at this stage. We should be beating Brighton at home. We should be beating Bournemouth away. We should be beating Everton at home. We should be beating Fulham away. These should be games that are bankers for a team that's meant to be in the title race, right? And so we are going massively backwards. Right now, it's mostly get top 4 and try to get a trophy. I really just think that this whole idea that we're still in the title race when you know that we're going to drop points, even if Liverpool drops points, is ridiculous. And no team that's ever won the league has been so poor up front. So, we don't have the pieces or the attacking prowess or anything to be that type of team. So, yeah, it's a tough one. Today is a tough one, but it's less tough than Fulham, because once I saw Fulham, I was like, yeah, no. Yeah, no. Sterling also being unused. And the January transfer window opens in like 2 weeks. It's kind of like, what was that all about? It's just strange. I don't necessarily feel like the lineup was awful today. I actually think it was fine. And it offered us the left hand side that was actually coherent and working. But the way that we attack against mid and low blocks to me is we don't attack. You know, we don't. We just don't attack. We pass it sideways and backwards and slow. Let the team be so stagnant. We don't move them side to side. We don't switch positions. We don't try to pass it into difficult areas for them to actually have to defend. This was probably a really easy game for Everton, just like Fulham, very easy game. Like Newcastle, a very easy game. And so, yeah, the lack of attack, the lack of threat in so many games, and the fact that the lineup is different in almost every one of those games leads me to feel like it's more of a tactical issue than a personal issue. And there's nothing we can do about buying players now. I don't know, the window isn't open. So it's just, yeah, it's just this. Arteta must have just kind of stumbled upon 2022, 2023 because he cannot replicate that tempo and attack. He can't replicate those patterns. He can't replicate that inevitability or that unpredictability. He can't replicate any of that. And 4 out of the 5 seasons, there's been all these questions about why we can't just put the ball in the back of the net, except for that one season. And we're going backwards now. I just don't see how anybody can look at the amount of points that we have now versus the season prior and the season prior and not think that we're going backwards. Even if you don't look at the table or look at points, look at the way we're playing. The stadium was pretty empty today, by the way, guys. Last couple of games, and we'll see how this pans out past the holidays, but last couple of games at the Emirates, you could get a ticket, and 2 seasons ago, you couldn't get a ticket. There was no ticket. The ticket exchange was you were not getting a ticket. Now, Champions League games against Monaco, anybody can get a ticket. Premier League games against Everton at home, anybody can get a ticket. And I just wonder if we're slowly moving towards the apathy and we're not playing good football. It doesn't look like we're going to win anything. We're going backwards, and how much longer we're meant to like pretend like this is okay. And like, it's not just the first couple of games of the season. We are almost at Christmas and we still don't have answers. Our players have come back now. So Odegaard is back. He's in bad form, but like, why is it that we got one good game, against Monaco, and then we turn around and have a game like this? Why is that? Like, why does that continue to happen? Like, I don't get us. Like, we are so fucking weird. So, yeah, I'm tired, but I'm also just not like, I'm starting to feel that level of apathy where the game ends and I'm just like, okay, the game just ends. Okay. Whether Odegaard is there or not, we're not playing particularly well, no matter who the 6 is, we're not playing particularly well. It's like, I don't really know what it is. Jordan says, sack him and go get Nagelsmann. Victor says the atmosphere looks so poor and I'm not going to put all the blame on the fans because it's mostly on the team. You have to make the fans excited. And I hear this, like, I think that, the constantly having to turn around to the team or the fans and try to get the fans up. They're a couple weeks away from blaming us or blaming the fans in the stands. I just know it because not only are they not selling tickets like they were before, but people are just not excited to watch this team anymore. And if you have to make a decision between spending money on your family or whatever during this time, as the holidays, money is tight, and going to the Emirates, you're not going to go to the Emirates to watch us draw against Everton. You're not going to go to the Emirates and watch us, play this type of football. So I don't blame fans for saving their money, because it's not cheap going to, Arsenal games, but you do have to get the fans excited. And I just don't feel like I was at the stadium in that season, the 2022, 2023 season, and a little bit of the next season. And the buzz did go down from that first season to last season. And I can only imagine how much worse it is now because it's not even just about the trophies. We're not even playing good football. And my friend talks about this all the time, but she's just like, if we're not going to win trophies, which we don't look like we're going to win a major trophy this season, then at least play good football, and entertain. And we're not doing either one of those. So I think most Arsenal fans would take this stiff football that's more effective and economical. And we needed to change our style because, the style that we were playing was leaving us vulnerable. I think a lot of people would accept that if it looked like we were going to win the trophies that we need to. But now that it doesn't look like that, I really do think people are struggling to get with this football. And let's make no bones about it, it's dire. It is dire. Today, the football was just not good enough. So yeah. But yeah, let's see. The McChronicle says Lee Gunner is actually a good guy. I'm close with family and friends of him in Canada. Honestly, like I don't know him, so I don't know. It's whatever. Sorry, I can't. It's Mejmik says we lost for two reasons: no ambition in the summer, and Arteta knows control and possession, but not attack. Do Premier League teams have offensive coordinators? He needs help. I think this is interesting because we've spoken about the lack of attack in the summer, and like the lack of quality that we have up front is insane. It is so bad. Like genuinely, it is so bad. If Saka doesn't score, it is not happening. You cannot rely on so many of these players. And so I just don't know how you could go into this season with this attack and think that this wasn't going to happen. And this is why I had my meltdown. My main meltdown crash out happened once that window closed, because anybody with half a brain could see this coming from a mile away. You cannot just go with a tight attack and what we have going on up front. You have to have players that relieve the pressure, players that when you're not playing well can just nick a goal, can score something out of nothing to keep you in where you need to be at. We should not be pretending like this makes sense. It doesn't. We should have bought more than one attacker in the summer, and we got nothing. We got nothing because Sterling is a nothing. And then this whole control and possession thing, I agree, because we just try to control possession. And this is no matter who's out there. Take your player FC off, take your narratives off, take your agendas off. This whole season, we have lacked threat. Not just today, not just Fulham, not just blah. Every single game, bar Forest, maybe, and Sporting and West Ham, we have lacked threat. We have not been able to score a shit ton of goals freely, create a lot of chances, look attacking, score early as well, because we just don't score early goals anymore. So Arteta needs to figure out how to create an attack. But I just don't think he has it. Because if you've had 5 years and a lot of resources, why can't you attack? Why can't you attack? I don't get it. So yeah. Arteta said, or O'Malley says, Arteta favorite quotes: we gave them nothing. The game is decided in the boxes. I'm tired, Jess. I'm tired. Do you guys still listen to his press conferences? Because I don't. I really don't. I don't listen to his press conferences. I just feel like he needs to look within. And to be honest, if in 5 years you only have one good attacking season, I think you're not a good attacking coach. So yeah, you are good at off the ball structure and all that kind of stuff, but you just are so afraid for the team to just attack freely, and it just feels like we're so afraid to concede goals. And no, we're not conceding a lot of chances and stuff like that, but I don't really know of any teams that have won the Premier League that were just tight at the back but lacked attacking threat, right? So yeah. Precious says Saka and Saliba need to find better teams. This manager has no ambition. No, I feel like we need to provide them with the type of attackers and maybe even the coach that will, get them the trophies that they deserve. I'm very adamant about keeping these players because these players are better than. I mean, there's a lot of people that feel like we're lucky to have Mikel, and they'd rather. We had this conversation on Judge Mo's that there are Arsenal fans that would rather lose our top players than lose the manager. But I'm the opposite. I just feel like we need to look within and just like, is this as good as it gets in terms of coaching and recruitment and things like that? Because, these players, some of them are like borderline world class. They just need, well, Saka's already world class, but they just need the trophies. And there's no excuse at this stage for Arsenal not to be able to win trophies, LT says, stop listening in the first title challenge. Daddy says, we are simply not good enough, and the left side is super poor. Saka, Rice, Odegaard, sometimes Partey are the only ones on it. Amina says, I find it strange. Last season, he complained about us not having a striker, and he did nothing to fix it that season. Yeah, interesting. I have no answers because, I mean, if you say anything about like Havertz, you get absolutely slated. But like in a game like today, because remember I told you guys in the preview, I said that we won't have as much space as we did against Monaco. So we probably need to make sure that we have another footballer in the team up front so that we can break down the deep block. And he had Havertz and Martinelli, two players that neither one of them are deep block breaking down type of players. They're more space players. They need space, they need, to be able to, they're just not going to be able to like receive the ball in between the lines and make those decisions. And Havertz and Martinelli, to me, just like both of them against the deep block just doesn't make any sense. But if you say that, you get slandered because it's like, well, he scored this amount of goals, and how could you say because of the back end of last season? And I'm like, if y'all don't want a striker, then just don't want a striker, Amina says, oh no, I read that one. Jordan says, get us Nagelsmann and Ranić and we cook. Let's see. Tereni says, please, Jess, I love you, but stop. Let's be honest. The players aren't that good either. Saka, Odegaard, and Saliba are, though. I mean, listen, you can't really say that when 90% of this team was there in the season where we played better football. And this is where I get really irritated because Arsenal fans always want to throw everything out. They're like, well, it's not working, so all the players are shit and the manager is shit and everything is shit. Just cut it all off. But all of our players are not shit. Are some of them below the level? Yes, they are. But are they actually playing at the level that they should be? No. So to say that the team is just not good enough, the team is just not good enough to beat Everton. The team is just not good enough to beat Fulham. The team is just not good enough to, to beat Bournemouth. Come on now. Like, let's actually like be serious for 1 second. I hate that the manager his performances are so poor that people are starting to question players that we know are good. Are you guys actually trying to tell me that you don't think Gabriel and Timber are good players? You don't think Rice is a good player? You don't think Partey is a good player? No, all of you guys think Partey is a good player. You know what I mean? You guys actually don't think these players are any good. And as much as we need to move on from some of these players on the bench, they're performing well below their level. This reminds me so much of the women. I hate to say it, but it reminds me so much of Arsenal women. There were so many people backing a terrible manager that they had the audacity to say that these players were not good enough. Players like Bethany Mead, players like Ford and Williamson and, Little and Walty and players that we know play at the highest level. And they backed the manager just for him to go, and the interim has them playing the best football that I've seen them play in like 2 years. And the same thing is happening with the men. Yes, there's gaps in the team and we need to improve in certain areas, especially left wing and striker. I think we all kind of like agree on that for sure. Even in midfield, like we need to add more profiles in there, another attacking profile, whatever. But to actually say that you don't think that this team is good enough to beat Everton at home is just wild. because even when we were worse than this, we beat Everton at home. They rarely get anything at the end. So I really don't back this whole idea that this whole team is shit. And this is why when we get in bad periods of time, like when we're going through bad form, this is why I don't like talking to people that cannot not be extreme. They're not very accurate, or like they can't pinpoint exactly what they're upset by. They're just upset by everything. And these players are good. Are they, better than every other team in the world? No. But they're performing way below their standard. Way below their standard. And a lot of that is the coaching. And you guys are still letting Arteta get away with it. And these are his players. So if you're saying that none of these players are good enough, you should still look at the manager, because let's be serious, he got these players. So I'm very, it's very disingenuous to say that these players are just not good enough, or they're not good players. They may not be your favorite players or your preferred players, but it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, surely we're away from this now. Like, you should be looking at the manager. So yeah. Let's see. Sapphire says, even with super attackers, not sure the coach has the proper instincts to coach out a good, consistent attack in the team. His poor idea of attack will reflect on the players. Yeah, I mean, I question that too, but I just feel like but I'm almost like, I don't even know if I want to risk it or not. I get what you're saying. Like, because you have to think about the way that he had like Aubameyang, and he couldn't get anything out of Aubameyang. So I do get that feeling that, like, even if he got better attackers, he would find some way to put them out of in a different position and not platform them properly and all that kind of stuff. I get that for sure. I get that for sure. But like, surely he can do a little bit better than this. Like, this is just not good enough. And yeah, it's just one of those things where I just wonder, like, so much conversations about who our left back needs to be, who our DM needs to be, and not enough talk about who our freaking striker needs to be and who our left wing need to be. Because in a game where we need goals, surely our left back and our DM is not the biggest thing that we can talk about. It's just the weirdest thing. Marcus says the Cronkies got a Super Bowl win in 5 years, and with McVay, no Premier League, no Champions League with Arteta in 5 years. Richard says, I keep saying it, Arteta is giving me Wenger vibes with more handbrake, which is terrible, because at least Arsene always knew how to unlock an attack. Always knew how to unlock an attack. But, when we're trying to unlock an attack, Arteta switches out DMs and switches out left backs, switches out fullbacks, instead of trying to figure out a different composition up front, or, at least making sure that his players are actually in form, because also we have almost all of our attackers are out of form right now. And they have been for the whole season, in and out of form, patchy form for some of them. Kai Havertz, patchy form. Odegaard, patchy form. Trossard, patchy form. But for the most part, like Jesus and Martinelli and like Sterling hasn't even been like an option. So it's like, how do you think you're going to score goals and play good attacking football with no attackers even in form? Even if they're not good enough. Form and talent are two different things. They're not even in form. It's just so strange how he can have so many players out of form at once. And yeah, I mean, it's just wild. And Goni says, Galaxy Brain McCall is the problem, never goes for the obvious solution. Jimmy Cliff says the main problem is Arteta. Silu says, we can't score goals because we don't have the right left back in the right weather conditions and the right wind speed and the ref. Basic says, listen, I agree with Martinelli. Hate, but my God, when he gets the ball, he has no help. Also, for most of the game, we are right side FC. And when we started off the game, so like the first 10, 15 minutes, we actually attacked a lot on that left-hand side. The chances that came for Odegaard came from that side. So, we had a decent level of balance. But again, once we get past the first 15 minutes, we stop attacking if we haven't scored. If we haven't scored, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but If we haven't scored in the first 15 to 20 minutes of a game, we start attacking and then we stop. And then we pass it around for about 60 minutes. And if we don't score within then, it's like all hell breaks loose. Even if we score a goal in the first half, we sit off in the second half. We don't attack for long periods of the game. We attack for like we attack for like 20 minutes here or there. Like truly attack, not just maintaining possession and switching it from side to side, but actually trying to attack the other team. And so I get the right side bias, and for the most part we have been this season, but I don't even know if that was a problem today. I just think we stopped attacking at a certain point. And Martinelli will continue to get hate because he's not particularly playing well. But, you know, we shouldn't be in a position at this stage where Martinelli is our best left wing. We just shouldn't. We just shouldn't, you know. So Arteta has to figure out a way to at least get him into form. You know, if he was coaching the shit out of these players and they were doing as good as they possibly could, but they still didn't reach the heights, then I get it. But like, they look atrocious. They look atrocious. Cabela says, can't believe we chased Marino for 2 months only for him to be playing like that. What does he do? I don't know if I think that he was as bad as you guys do, but I hear you. I hear you. Richard says, Wenger vibes in the sense of trusting certain players who aren't good enough, out of form, and the stubbornness of not fixing strike force because we score enough, not achievements. I get what you're saying. Brendan says, why bring on Jorginho when we have not scored? And that's exactly my point. That's exactly my point. His answer to not scoring goals is to bring on Jorginho to switch the DMs. And he said that Declan Rice picked up a knock, but this isn't the first time that we've seen it. When we're not scoring, his answer is to change the left back or to change the DM. It's never to commit more men forward, leave just Saliba and Gabriel back there by themselves, back them to be the defenders that they are, and just attack. We didn't even have Everton pinned in. I remember when we were chasing goals that first season that we challenged, you couldn't get out, you couldn't breathe. When we were chasing a goal, you could not breathe. We were just kept attacking, and that's why we got those goals in the 97th minute, 96th minute, whatever, because we always put them under massive pressure, and we made our own luck. Because when you keep shooting and you keep putting it in dangerous positions, not just floating crosses, putting it in dangerous positions low and hard, you have guys crashing the box, they're going to make a mistake. But it takes us like 10 minutes to get back up into the box again. It's just changing the DM is not going to change that. It's not going to change that. The tempo has to be quicker. You have to take more risks. And attacking is risky. And it's a risk you should be taking. And if you don't trust your team enough, so you have to like defend more, you don't believe you're going to score enough goals, so you want to keep the score down, then just buy better attackers. You know, Nico says, smash the like button and sub to Just People. This will probably be a long one, so make sure you guys are like, you know, relax, all that kind of stuff. I have my coffee. It will be a long one. We know it will. We haven't played well. So, yeah. Leo says, Odegaard's shooting technique is horrid, by the way. 0 venom or power precision. 2022, 2023, 15 goals was Fugazi. Yeah, I feel like that was a season where everything was kind of going our way. So everything was flying in the back of the net for sure. But I do think Odegaard can attack better than this. I think he could hit the ball better than this. We've seen it. I think Odegaard is ever since his wife had the baby, he's been horrendous, like lower than I've ever seen him play. This is like the worst I've seen him play for a consistent run of games, and such an about face from what he was just even a couple of games ago, the Chelsea, the Nottingham Forest, the Sporting game, all those kind of stuff. So I don't know why his wife having the baby is affecting him so much or whatever it is, but he can definitely hit the ball better than that. But he's never going to be Kevin De Bruyne. And this was my point before. I said this yesterday, is that when you inevitably try to make players into something that they're not, they're going to always let you down. And Odegaard is a very good player. That's mostly the pass before the pass. He's a good tempo setter, all those types of things, but he is not Kevin De Bruyne. He's not going to give you 20 goals and 20 assists a season. He's just not that type of player. So instead of trying to make him into that player and not having any other creators in your team, buy another creator. And if Odegaard falls short, you have somebody else to step in. but you don't have any other creative midfielders. So when he's not playing well, everybody's just, Odegaard is so bad. He's this. He can't be our main creator. Of course he can't. Most teams don't have one creator and nothing else, by the way. Pep has never had one creator in the team. Never, ever. Maybe now is the first time that he has one creator in the team because Foden's not a creator. But I've never seen a manager have one thing. One good attacker, one attacking mid, one this, one that. But a million left backs and a million DMs. You get what I'm saying? So, of course, Odegaard, I could have told you that at the beginning of the second season. I was like, Odegaard is never going to score that amount of goals again because everything that he touched flew into the back of the net. But since then, we haven't been able to get those goals and those assists and that creativity from somewhere else. And it's just crazy. And I wish we had the ability to take him off and not feel it. Everybody wanted Odegaard off, which I understand, but the creativity and the attacking, none of it got better. Took Rice off, put somebody else on, nothing got better. Like nothing changes because the game doesn't change. Precious says the left wing is a burden. Zwei says the problem is not Odegaard, it's Martinelli, been him from the beginning of the season. But I don't like the individual pointing out. I feel like as fans, when you point out one player and you make them the problem, you're still letting the manager off the hook. I think if there's anybody that deserves most of the blame, it's the manager. It should not be an individual player. Martinelli is not the only reason why we are not good at attacking. He's not. Odegaard's not the only reason. Kai Havertz isn't the only reason. Nobody is the only singular reason why we are not attacking well. They're just not. Because even when Trossard starts, then people are begging for Martinelli to play. It's not Martinelli. It's not one individual player. The manager cannot coach good attacking football. He cannot. He has shown it for too long. That 91 goals that everybody was talking about. Yeah, but Jess, you don't need any new attackers because we scored 91 goals. Kai Havertz is good enough. Martinelli is good enough. Those goals that we scored, a lot of them came in a very saturated, it was saturated in one particular part of the season, but this is worse. What we are now is worse than we were at the beginning of last season. And remember, we complained about the attack then. The beginning of last season, the attack was dire as well. But it was better than this. We scored 6 goals against Sheffield easily. We had games like that. We don't even have games like that anymore. We can't even beat Everton. We've regressed so much. So, but it cannot just be one player. I don't understand how we get to it's just one player. It's never one player. When you have multiple players out of form, when you change the personnel and the game is still the same, it cannot be the players only. Yeah, they can have bad individual performances, but why is everybody out of form? I don't get it. Johnny says, it's the staff, not just the manager. The staff are responsible with managing players as well as set piece coach. We have also attack coach, fire the guy. Yu says, our Martinelli is done. We need a 9. We need another creator. Kamanagu says, facts. Arteta kills attackers. Look at Abba. Yeah. But listen, I don't really know, because I know some people are going to say, well, we're only this amount of points behind Liverpool still. And I get that, but I just don't get the feeling that we're going to win the title. I don't know. Is it okay to say that now? Without people calling you negative and toxic and all that, is it okay to say that now? Because earlier on, because this is the first couple of games of the season, and I just feel like when you're good, you just feel it in your gut. And I just don't feel like we're going to be able to put together the type of performances that are going to get us to where we want to be. We're too inconsistent. It's 2 good games, 1 bad game. Now it's 1 good game, 1 bad game, more like 3 or 4 bad games. It's just too inconsistent. And I don't even know, because we can do up don't play Martinelli, play Trossard, don't play Kai, play Jesus, don't play Rice, don't play Partey. I don't even think any of these changes necessarily are going to get us to where we want to be. So we can do low-hanging fruit and just, go bang on the players all the time. But to me, it's genuinely just the manager can't coach a consistent attack. And the fact that we didn't address those positions in the summer is just egregious to me. And so it's a lost season as far as I'm concerned. Um, but yeah, like I just don't, yeah. Boy says Martinelli and Trossard have, and some others genuinely can get themselves up for another title fight. And Goni says, no way we are going to win the title. We are not good. Havertz and Jesus are not title winning strikers. Chris says, we ain't winning the title unless Poole and Chelsea fall off massively and we're perfect for the rest of the season. Chelsea will probably finish above us. And that's probably the one thing that I got wrong, is that when I said that we would finish third, I said that Liverpool and City would be above us, but it's actually going to be Liverpool and Chelsea. And if Man City win tomorrow, they'll be level on us. Think about how bad City have been. They'll still be level on points with us if they win tomorrow against United. So as much as we're looking around at other people and trying to find faults in Liverpool and Chelsea and Man City, and we're laughing at them and stay humble, we have been so bad this season. Like as a collective, as a season, as a group of games, we have been so poor in the Premier League. Take the Champions League out and take the Carabao Cup out. In the Premier League, we would have been so bad, so for a title winning side or a title challenging side. So we just have to hold that. I saw people posting our form up and saying, oh my gosh, this is Arteta out form. Oh, these people are so stupid. And I'm just like, how short-sighted and ridiculous can you be? Of course, people are not wanting to sack Mikel because we like right in the midst of us winning a couple of games. No, but the form before that is a reason for cause, because we always know that this comes back. We know that this comes back. So I don't know why people are being disingenuous. But again, at the end of the season, if he doesn't win anything, I don't think even a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup can save him from the fans turning. Because you don't even need the fans to have signs anymore. They'll just stop coming. And by the end of the season, if we don't win anything and we're still playing this terrible football, it won't be Arteta out signs. It'll just be people who are not there. The apathy will set in, and the online fans will definitely they'll make their voices heard. So it's not good. Get away. Leave me alone. I will be there on Thursday. Relax. Relax, Mo. Don't come for me right now. But welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for checking in. Travis says, go get Ryan Cherky. Nolan says, truth is signing Rice Havertz have backfired. Footy Judge says, Arteta out already. Cabela says, I just think whenever we play against a mid-block, we should play a traditional 8, Odegaard and Ethan, and his left 8 thing is not working because the system does only for us break down a low block. Theo says 30 points after 16 is Wenger outpaced. People say anything to defend Arteta drives me nuts. Boy says we needed a striker. There's nothing more to say about this season. Recruited badly. Here we are. Jimmy Cliff says Arteta spent 2 full months of the summer transfer on 2 players, and now we have to depend on Winieri to unlock games. Johnny says CL, FA, and Carabao. Oh well, yeah, we need to be good now. CL, Premier League. Oh, FA, you meant Carabao, only chance to salvage the season. Dan says we needed a striker, not Sterling. Wayne says Rice and Havertz need to be benched. I would love for them to be benched for a little bit because, Rice didn't play for a couple of games. He had a broken toe and we were still shit. If you guys want to rely upon Jesus, that's fine. But I think just the swapping out players and just drop so-and-so and drop so-and-so, yeah, it can change the dynamics. I feel like we should still maintain a good left-hand side that's open and can actually pass the ball through it and stuff like that. But I would love to see Rice and Havertz drop for like a consistent amount of time and see how much better we get. Because if Arteta doesn't change the way that he attacks, meaning with more pace, with more, more risk, with more all that kind of stuff, we're still not going to win games. So I kind of understand when we bought Rice and Havertz, then our whole lives just changed. But also Arteta's style of play changed drastically. It changed drastically from the season prior to now. So if you guys think that just changing the personnel is going to change everything, That's fine, but we've played games without them and still look like shit. Remember, Jesus was starting games last season and we lost those games because that's who you're asking to start, right? You know, Rice didn't play games this season. He still played like shit. He also didn't play in the 6. He played in the 8, and we still weren't playing well. And Party was in the 6, and we still weren't playing well. So the merry-go-round of just switch this player out, da, da, da. Yeah, you'll get marginal gains from certain things. And I do think that the balance is better with certain players in certain positions, like just in their natural positions, obviously. But listen, drop Rice and Havertz, drop them, and let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes because the tempo, that's not going to change. The risk adverse against deep blocks is not going to change. Arteta needs to change. He must change. Like Arteta must change. Boy says play Saka as a false 9. Precious says, why do we have Sterling in this team? Cabela says the conversation after playing a low block team, the conversation is always the same: slow build up, no X factor, no chances created, in the left hand side being poor. Diehard Gunner says stop lying, Jess. Well, listen, I mean, if you guys think that the only problems that we have is that we introduce Havertz and Rice into the team and then everything just changed, that's fine. That can be your opinion. My opinion is that Arteta's whole style of play has changed because even when those players are not playing and Jesus plays, or when Partey is in the 6, we still play like shit. They're still not winning games. We still don't have threat. So I don't know what you're talking about, so I get what you guys are trying to say because it makes it so much easier just to say these players are shit and that's why. But Arteta should still be able to coach a better attacking setup, even with those players in the team. And if your DM is your biggest problem in attacking, then that's a problem in itself. So I get what you guys are saying. I get what you guys are trying to convey. I get it that the style has changed and then you can't do the same things with Partey versus Rice and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I hear you. Diehard says we beat Sporting 5-1. We beat Monaco 3-0. We battered Monaco. We battered Monaco. Sporting hasn't won a game, by the way, since Amorim left. So, and we're talking about Premier League games. Premier League games. We also beat West Ham 5-2, and Jorginho was the 6. This is what I'm saying. It's you guys are cherry picking performances from a bad run of games where it's like, okay, well, we played against Fulham. Jorginho was the 6, not Rice. We played against Man United. We weren't particularly good. We won on 2 set pieces. Partey was the 6. Rice was the 6 today. So if all of those games pretty much had the same result, barring set pieces, then why are we pretending like it's just the 6? I really do, sometimes I do wish you guys get what you want and see how it's not going to change because Arteta needs to change his tactics. But, Travis says we only play well when the tempo is slow. So yeah, and my caveat to this, diehard, is that when Rice was playing the 6 last season, we were still in the title race. We lost some games. Partey wasn't playing, but we still beat Sheffield 6-0. We still beat Crystal Palace. We still beat whatever that team is, Luton Town, and you guys still complained. So if we can still win games with Rice at the 6, then why are you guys complaining? Because we have won games with Rice at the 6. We did that against Monaco. Sorry. I don't know what to tell you. It's if we win and the person that that's playing, is in the game, then that means that it worked. But if a player that I think is better played and we won, we were trash. See how you guys actually don't have good arguments because you don't keep it consistent. Look at the performances. We won tons of games with Rice at the 6, and you guys complained. But now we were trash. We were trash. We were trash. We weren't good against United. We all said it. We all know that we weren't good against United. Who thinks we were good against United? We weren't. We won on 2 set pieces. So I don't know what to tell you guys. Let's see. Jerome says, Jess, you are 100% correct. I've reached the point of apathy. We don't move like a club trying to win. Hit me up. We were in a cup final and winning 2-0. Chris Fraser says, players' positions are just dots on a page. The real problem is Mikel's tactics. if you can't see this, I do feel like you're being disingenuous. Player FC, player agenda is such low hanging fruit. And it's the easiest way because we attach ourselves to players and stuff like that. And it's like, well, I don't like this player, so now I can slander this player as much as possible. But it's just letting Mikel off of the hook, to be honest. Because even if you don't like that player, who bought that player? If you'd rather see Partey over Rice, who's not playing Partey over Rice? It's still Mikel. So, but I've noticed this, that especially with like United, watching United content when they've been bad, watching Chelsea content when they've been bad, there's always players that like, if you just swap them, everything would be perfect, everything would be right. And my main caveat always for trying to play Marino on the left and, changing up the midfield and making sure that it's balanced, and even on the left-hand side, making sure that it's balanced, is so that we can get more out of an attack that is dead. I recognize that Partey, Rice, and Odegaard are the best players that we have for midfield positions. I get that. But the balance doesn't even work because we still don't play that well with those three in there. So, Player FC to me is very like, once you get to the end with a manager and everybody's frustrated with the manager, but they don't feel like they're going to leave, then what they do is Player FC. And then it's, well, if you just play Jesus, because at a certain point, people were like, just play Zinchenko. And that's when I knew we were going in the wrong direction, because people that had written off Zinchenko and said that we couldn't win anything with him at left back were then turning around and saying, but we need his line-breaking passes to unlock our game. Now we need Jesus to come back in. We need Arteta's tactics to change first. So, yeah, Boy says Party gives us more control because he butters for Odegaard. I would say that Partey helps on the right and Rice helps on the left. When Rice plays the 6, the left-hand side gets more service. When Partey plays in the 6, the right gets more service. Partey funnels the ball to Odegaard more. Odegaard is less involved when Rice is there because Rice tends to cheat to the left-hand side. But we don't need more control. We have, no matter who plays, we have control. We have control no matter who plays. We need to speed up the tempo. We need to take more risks, and we need to play more attacking football. But I do think that we get different dynamics with different DMs in there. But if we need goals and we're talking about the DM, I'm just like, I'm just shutting off at this point. Burmy says the starting lineup was good, but the tactics were the problem. There was no urgency until the dying embers of the game. We need tons of chances or a moment of brilliance to get a goal. Johnny D says, I did say Lewis Skelly is a better defensively, but offensively, Zinni much better as of now. I thought Miles Lewis Skelly was just fine, and I've seen us play games just like this with Zinchenko in the game. We've had games where we've drawn blanks against teams at home with Zinchenko and the team. Aston Villa, so I don't really think that it's just because Zinchenko is just better on the ball and better attacking wise. Arteta just doesn't play attacking football anymore. And it's, I don't know. I'm just tired of talking about the same things. I'm tired of talking about Martinelli because nothing is going to change with Martinelli. I'm tired of the left-hand side being a problem. I'm looking at the attackers and I'm like, how can you guys not see that almost all of our attackers are out of form except for Saka? But you guys are talking about Rice being shit. It's just so weird. Like, I'm tired of talking about the same stuff. Surely, if we need goals, we need better attackers or better attacking setup. We're getting Rashford in the summer. James says Zinni is a liability defending. Esteban says the inability to up the tempo is concerning. We have to be able to catch these low block teams on the counter when they're out of possession, but the urgency wasn't there. And that's kind of what I saw mostly today. And I also saw that against Fulham, and I also saw that against Manchester United in the first like half, is that basically just Saliba stands on the ball. And what really was concerning to me was in the second half when Everton started to try to up their levels a little bit, Saliba won the ball and he was just, obviously, Saliba tries to keep onto the ball. He doesn't kick it. Like, he never kicks it. He tries to find a player. Nobody moved to create an angle for him. No one. Literally, no one created an angle for him. Everybody was just standing there. Timber was standing there. Saka was standing there. Odegaard was standing there. Rice was standing there. Nobody moved to create an angle for Saliba. And so the Everton player came in and took it off of him. And then, I mean, they got like a little half chance. But our inability to, like, the way we get shell shocked and we're like deers in the headlight and we just don't move at certain points is just so strange to me. What happened to just passing and moving? I don't get it. And if we were attempting to pass and move, but the players just couldn't do it, I could understand more. Like if they try to pass and move, but then their touches were bad, or they tried to pass and move, but their move didn't come off. I could understand that. But we don't move. Like we just, as a team, we stay in our positions, and Trossard and Martinelli, especially in the second half, once they got the ball, my goodness, it was just them like shoved onto the sideline, and there was like nobody around them. What individual personnel is going to change that? To me, that's just tactical. It's just like the weirdest thing ever. I just don't get our style. It's just, I don't get it. Dissect says the last 4 transfer windows were underwhelming. Only Rice, Timber, and Raya are decent signings, not good enough to win the leagues in this day and age. Simba says we might as well start Sterling. We have nothing to play for anymore. Let's see. Descent. No, Kwame says, hi, Jess. We're absolutely useless. Everton deserved the draw. Everton has won the title. They deserve it. You better hope that Chelsea doesn't win, or else it's going to be really bad for us. Liverpool winning it is the best case scenario for us right now. Esteban says, yes, I remember that moment where no one showed for the pass from Saliba. There was another moment at the end when Big Gabriel was the only one trying to make a run behind in the defense. And I just look at that and I'm just like, how can that be anything other than tactics? Like, I just don't understand. I think Arteta doesn't want his players to move or something because he's afraid if they leave their position, then it'll leave the opposition open and they'll hurt us on the counterattack. Everything we've done since basically the 4-1 against Man City really does feel like the reaction to getting done on the counter several times, or losing the ball in dangerous positions centrally, or whatever. And now we just play a very risk adverse, stodgy style. And if we don't have the space, meaning we're playing against a team that just sits in a mid to low block, we really, really struggle to do anything. And so it's just so, yeah, there's no movement, there's no pace, there's no anything. And you could just tell by like the 30th minute that we probably wouldn't score, because they just pass it around and do nothing for like 60 minutes. And then he makes all these subs. And then I saw Timber in the box trying to score. And I'm just like, why is that not our striker or our winger? Like, why is our winger and our striker not in the box? Why are they providing chances for the fullback? Why? I love Timber down. I love Timber down to the ground, but he is not going to get you the goal that you need. It's just, woo. Sir Owen says, Arsenal are just playing like non-Arsenal. Our players are not as hungry as they were past 2 seasons. I don't want to talk about Arteta. I do feel like there is a lack of hunger. I know that they're saying that they want to win the league, and it's hard to maintain that title winning form in the 3rd season because you failed twice in a row and the seasons are long and there's a lot of pressure, but the club doesn't do anything to help the players. I just feel like as fans, we know how we would have felt if we had brought in a striker, any striker that could put the ball in the back of the net, and a new winger. I just think even the fans would have been excited. Do you know how the players would feel if they had come back from preseason or come back from the Euros in their off season and saw a new striker, a new winger, and something reinvigorated up front? I just feel like it's even hard for the players to continue on without anything changing, because if the tactics aren't changing, then the personnel needs to change in terms of like getting better players, and we didn't do that. So I know that they're supposed to just stay up for it, but it's just difficult. And I don't think the club really supported the players well. They brought in another left back. They brought in a midfielder, and I like Marino, but he wasn't the level raiser that we were meant to get, and no attacker. That's just wild to me. So I don't know how they're meant to get up for another title race with nothing changing and just the same players trying to carry us. Because now that we don't have, like, we have a spotty Odegaard now too, who Odegaard was a part of that kind of like trio that was kind of carrying us through last season. It's just Saka and Saliba now. You can't have only two players carrying us. You need other players to have the types of seasons that they're having right now. Harsh on Gabriel. Gabriel is also a part of that. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. The Everton game was just not surprising, but very disappointing. Because you just needed to score a goal. Just one, and we didn't look like scoring one ever, really. Millen says Gravenberch is the best DM in the Premier League at the moment, and everyone said Liverpool is damned this season. That's an internal solution only good manager can find. You look at things like that where there were players that under other managers were dead at other teams that all of a sudden, like, nobody wanted Gravenberch, nobody rated him. They said he was a bad signing, wanted to send him back to Bayern, talking about loaning him out. Needed Zubamendi. Slot has been able to reinvigorate him. He's also figured out a way to get what's his name? Cody Gakpo as well, playing well, because under Klopp, he was in and out. But under Slot, he's been so much more consistent goal scoring wise. Those are internal solutions that have helped them quite a bit, especially with no Jota and a bad Nunez. They're not, they have other players that are coming to the forefront and solving problems. Hate to say it, but Maresca has figured out a way to get players that looked really poor under Pochettino and some under Potter to look like the players that they bought. Enzo Fernandez has been good over the last couple of games. Caicedo's been good, so they're no longer Cole Palmer FC. Rico Jackson, a player that was largely written off, now looks like a really good striker. And so when you look at managers being able to get more out of what they have, and these players were considered like dead players, like, oh my gosh, they made so many mistakes buying these players. You have to look at the coaching. And I just feel like we continuously let Mikel off of the hook. Because it's always just, yeah, but so-and-so is just shit. And we know they're not. We know they're not. We just know they're not. Chemist says what's frustrating is it seems even small tweaks like the winger swapping sides or keeping Havertz in the box would have at least given us new questions to ask Everton, and we didn't do any of that. Bruce says each season we make the same mistake, but as the saying goes, it is only fool who does the same thing over and over again. The commonality in 20 years is the summer transfer market. Boy says, I told people Klopp had done all the prep work by playing the kids last season. New manager came in and didn't have to sign anyone. Simba says, DMs are not supposed to be the primary creator. That's the problem with the tactics. And your left back also shouldn't be so important. Nobody relies on their DM to unlock their attacks. Literally no one. Literally no one. No one does it but Arsenal. Only Arsenal fans could talk about unlocking attacks with their DM. Gravenberch makes some nice passes here and there, but really he wins the ball back and gives it to better players. Rodri is probably the one unicorn, and maybe because Rodri does it all and is more of like a midfielder, people feel like he needs to create everything, but really Kevin De Bruyne and them are creating all the chances. We're the only team in the world that talks about the DM unlocking. And I get that you have to be able to build up, but we didn't have a problem building up today. We were in their box. We were in their box the whole time. Like, we were in and around their box. We didn't need to build up from the back. We rarely need to build up from the back. Rarely. Most teams just sit off of us and let us get to right in front of the box and then say, break us down. The DM is not supposed to be the player that we're looking to do that. I don't know. Like, football is simple. Fullbacks defend. Center backs keep the ball out of the back of the net. We add extra things here and there, and you love a line breaker from a CDM here and there. But I've never seen a club and a fan base obsess so much over a DM being the unlocker for everything. Never seen it. Never seen it. And if we need that, because that's what Mikel's system requires, then I don't like the fucking system. I don't. Let's see. Diehard says, how would a striker help us today? Really, how is he making Odegaard score those chances today? Well, first of all, those were like our only chances. So, but beyond those chances, first of all, let's start here. A striker getting on the end of those instead of an attacking mid that's not clinical helps you instantly, just like that. Boom. So we create chances for subpar options, people that are not clinical, not in form. We're creating chances for fullbacks, for DMs, and for like midfielders that aren't necessarily goal scorers. So if Marino is passing that ball back to, I don't know, Isak, the ball goes in the back of the net. So let's just start there. But beyond that, because those are the only chances that we really created, we went through about 60 minutes and did absolutely nothing. At least like the difference between Kai Havertz and Jesus, like just even the difference there. Kai Havertz is never involved when we go up against a deep block. He's pretty much like non-existent because he's not somebody that you want to pass in the ball into in difficult circumstances. So if you had a striker, like let's say like somebody like Isak that was comfortable receiving the ball under pressure, even Jesus maybe if he's in form under pressure in difficult situations, then when Rice passes the ball in between the lines to you, it doesn't bang off of your shin. You get the ball, you try to turn, and the center backs like Tarkovsky and whatever that other guy's name is, Branthwaite, instead of them just being able to head the ball out, they have to use their feet, which is what they're not good at. You know, when you had to that one moment that we had with Partey, which actually was a good moment from him, where he actually drove into the box. We don't have enough of that because our players, like especially our striker, they don't move, they don't make runs, they don't do anything. They just stand around and they just don't create any sort of threat because they don't require the center backs to have to move or make challenges or anything. And when you're in the deep block situation where you have to break them down, what you want them to have to do is defend you. You want them to be in that box, keep sticking their leg out, because what's going to happen is either you're going to shoot and it's deflect in, or you're going to shoot, you're going to get a corner, or you're going to shoot and they're going to take your legs out, something like that. But because we can't even access central spaces because our center forward cannot receive in difficult situations, because if you pass it to him, it just bangs off of his knee or his shin or his ankle, then we don't have any access to that. He doesn't create space. He doesn't go wide. He doesn't do anything. He just kind of like stands. You know, or, you know, a striker can help you as well, because if you're shooting and the ball ricochets off, I forget who shot, but the shot came out and everybody's just going like this. A striker has his blinkers on and understands where to be. And when the ball just drops in front of them, they just kick it in the back of the net. So those are several ways just like that. When we played against Fulham, Kai Havertz got the ball twice from line breaking passes from our DM. I won't tell you who it was, but from the DM. And instead of being able to hold on to it and the defender having to actually defend him because he could lay it off or turn and shoot or whatever, it just bangs off of his ankle and they just get it. We cannot access central spaces or make the center backs have to defend us in the box because our center forward is a non-factor in there. There's no point in having Havertz in. You need a different type of center forward that creates threat, you know? And so, or it's probably like even somebody that's not always offside, or, you know, when they're pressing, they don't just foul the player because they're being clumsy. Just somebody that gives you like just a different option. So I kind of get what people are trying to, I get what you're trying to say. It's just a center forward wouldn't have helped us, but of course they would have. Because if you're creating chances for somebody that can actually put the ball in the back of the net, those chances just go in the back of the net anyway. So I don't know how people can't see that. I don't know how people can't see that. Even when Saka creates half chances where he hits it across the box and it just goes like there's nobody there, that's because nobody can sniff out the chance because people are not actually goal scorers. So, of course, a striker could change things. Kwame says Havertz is lazy. Jonathan says, hi guys. We know we're not a title winning squad accepted early. Kai is not the guy. Jimmy Cliff says, how come that all of a sudden Gravenberch is now good, that our midfielders is not true? The major problem is Arteta. I mean, I've been saying that. Big says Marino made a nice pass to 29, but the clown made a run a bit early and takes a poor touch. I mean, there were two moments where Marino made passes in between the lines to Havertz in the box, and he just couldn't corral the ball. He couldn't get onto it. And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I get that certain players are not as good as you want them to be, but like genuinely, we have like one good attacker. So I'm not quite sure what people are meant to do because we're not having problems building up. We don't have problems getting from defense to attack. We don't have any of those problems. When they get to the wide areas to like Martinelli, he makes the wrong decision most times. Get to the wide area to Marino, he passes it across the six. Odegaard can't hit the target. It's just, we need different types of attackers. I get that the midfield could be an issue, but I'm struggling to figure out what the DM is about to do. If Kai Havertz can't receive the ball from Marino, then what? The guy says, why did we buy Havertz? Not good enough for the midfield, not good enough for striker. I just think, Marino, not Marino, Havertz, he's not like a bad player, but like he's not the player that you want when you're playing up against a deep block. Not him and Martinelli, because both of those players just don't. They're not the type of players that are going to help you unlock it. We know what unlocks deep blocks. We didn't have that as many problems with deep blocks when we're in the 2022-2023 season. And a lot of that was because we had at least one good dribbler, somebody that could receive the ball and dribble and make them make a mistake in tight areas. And we don't really have that now. We have two players that require a lot of space and a lot of time to make decisions and to create things and stuff like that. And so without Saka, it's just like, but I know it's not, Jesus is not the answer either, but we should have bought different attackers. But I hear what people are saying. Whatever your narrative is, even if, it's like whatever your narrative is, that's the problem with today. So I get it. I just think Mikel is the main issue. Millen says, not getting the ball quick enough to attack. Not even Lewandowski or R9 will make the difference. No, I hear that as well. They need to definitely speed up the tempo for sure. Jonathan says, is this the worst technical midfield we've had in 20 years? No one can dribble. Yeah, probably. It's nowhere near as technical as we've had before. Johnny D says, Saka was lively, but his shooting today not inspired. He just can't be the only, he can't be the only one. And, maybe it's twofold that he wasn't receiving the ball in good areas, but then equally, it's just like it's all on him. Like there's nobody else that can actually do anything. So I kind of get what people are saying, like, not even R9 would have scored, but if you pass the ball to R9 instead of Odegaard, he probably would have scored. So I think the idea that we don't need a striker wouldn't have changed the game, I think it's just an excuse. And it's like, obviously, like you'd want the midfield to be a little bit quicker. And here's always my caveat to like all of this. And this is the last point I'm going to make on this because we're just going to get to player ratings. But when you don't have clinical attackers and you play in a way that does not create clear-cut chances at volume, then you must have X factor. You must have players that can create something out of nothing, or players that, like the little half chance headers that we could put it in the back of the net. Somebody that, if the ball landed in the box, they could just slam it in the back of the net, because nobody on our team seems to be able to just kick the ball in the back of the net when it's like a melee in the box. So if you don't have that, then you need to create chances at volume and not be afraid to attack. But Arteta is afraid to attack because he doesn't want to lose the ball. So he plays slower, which doesn't suit the players that we have, because again, they need more time, they need more chances, they need more volume, they need more attacking chances. So when you have that, but then you equally don't have the R9, then you have a problem. You can create shitty chances for R9. You can create shitty chances for Isak. You can create shitty chances for decent strikers. They will find something to latch onto. A ricochet, a half chance, the chance that Odegaard squandered, the multiple chances that he squandered, they would have done better with those. So I really do like push back on the idea that a striker wouldn't help us there, or better attackers wouldn't help us there, because better attackers can create their own moments and can latch on to half chances and make them full chances. We don't have players that can just have half chances. They need full chances, because we've seen in the last two games when they have full chances, they even miss those. So yeah, it's like, I don't know why people are acting like they don't remember. Do you guys remember what having a striker was like? We didn't create all these clear-cut chances where they were just standing by themselves in the box. It would just fall in the box and they would just kick it in. They would just kick it in. Aubameyang, the amount of times that he was just in the right place, the right time, just boom, just kicked it in, or just shot early when the goalkeeper wasn't there, wasn't ready for it. I feel like we've forgotten what a real striker is like for so long that we're creating a narrative that we would not be able to score with just a striker, you know? And again, if like of course Arteta's tactics could have been so much better. Or even he could have changed out the whole personnel and played the players that you wanted and we got a better result. But right now we're just not creating chances at volume. And if you don't have good attackers, you need to do that. So yeah, Millen says the last one was Van Persie. Burmese says bad day at the office, uninspired tactics, poor individual performances, lack fluidity and creativity, slow tempo. Um, let's see. Jonathan says if Mikel can't handle strikers with big egos, he'll never succeed at Arsenal. Has to let the handbrake go. Blaze says, Jess, don't think we need to buy a creative left midfielder so we can have balanced midfielders like we had before the Odegaard party, Xhaka and Rosicky Flamini Fabregas. Of course. Of course. I feel like if you're not going to be buy that whole like a Bruno Guimaraes, somebody that can just kind of do everything, they score, they attack, they defend, they do all those types of things like an everything kind of guy, then instead of having another defensive midfielder, just have one DM and play two attacking midfielders. Just play two attacking midfielders because when you have all of the ball, you don't need two DMs. You really don't. You need more attacking players. You need another player in between the lines. I would love for us to have somebody that can play on the left-hand side. So again, buy your Kevin De Bruyne. Buy your Kevin De Bruyne. If you bought somebody that could get the volume of goals that people want from their attacking midfielder, I don't think people would be as frustrated as at Odegaard, but we need Odegaard to be our everything. He needs to win the ball back. He needs to lead the press. He needs to control the tempo. He needs to unlock Saka. He needs to, get all the assists. He needs to score goals. He's asked to do so much more than most people's attacking midfielders. He's not going to be able to live up to that. I would love to have another attacking midfielder in the team to play on the left. If I could build the team now, I would just double down on Declan Rice as the left or as the defensive center mid or whatever, just on the DM, just somebody who could allow us to throw more men forward. Because if you have a good defensive midfielder that sweeps up well in front of Gabriel and Saliba, you should be able to throw more players forward. That's the point of getting a more defensive-minded midfielder. If it's Jorginho, you can't do that because you have to keep another DM close to him because his legs are shot. But if it's just Declan Rice, then it's fine. Throw more men forward. Play with an attacking midfielder. That's what I would do. Because at this stage, it's just what are we playing for? I don't understand. But I don't know. I don't know. The guy says Odegaard playing like he needs a paternity leave. I mean, we can't even beat Everton at home. Like, it's just so insane. And Odegaard playing like this for multiple games, I'm just like, maybe just sit him down and just start Wanyeri from the beginning or play them both together or something. I don't know. Because as much as I feel like Odegaard makes us better, when he's playing like this, it's so hard to justify him playing because he's just playing against us almost. His passes were so safe. They were so soft and like weird, like he couldn't lock his ankle. All the quality that he had against Chelsea and West Ham and Sporting and Nottingham Forest was like gone. It's like gone. He looks like a player that's playing on an injury or is ill or something like that. And this is why if you had played Wanyeri when he was out, maybe he could just step in now and just play, but we don't have that. So Arteta's doubling down on Odegaard, and I get it because Odegaard's his captain. But when somebody's playing this bad, like Trossard was, because I'm likening this to Trossard, where it's almost like you're playing against us, save the player from themselves. Take them off. Don't start them with somebody else. Let them get their shit together because Odegaard needs to get his shit together. He needs to get his shit together. And he either needs more assistance or he needs to come off. But just continuing to play players in bad form, it's been 3 games now. When are we gonna do something different? Um, I just can't. Yeah. And I love Odegaard down. You guys know he's my favorite player, but I'm not even like, I'm not even like so wrapped into my agenda that I don't feel like he should be dropped because he's not playing well, you know? Um, Super chat from Darwin, son of Gristetta, says, sack this man. He's going backwards. The team has become Sack FC. Martinelli is rubbish. Can't even beat the dribble. This anti football has to stop. And Brian says, it's a bit of everything. Teams have a set game plan to beat us. We don't vary our attack enough. No overlaps, just inverted, not clinical enough, and not enough problem solvers when things go wrong. I think that's a really good summary. Let me check the poll and make sure you guys are voting on the poll. I asked what was the reason why we didn't beat Everton. And of course, the community here is I feel like is very intelligent because 68% of you guys said the tactics were wrong and it wasn't the lineup and it wasn't just Everton were good. Some people did vote on that, but 68% the tactics were wrong. And I think that that's really kind of clear when the pace was slow, no variance, exactly what Brian said here. I think this is such a good summary. A bit of everything. Teams have a set game plan, that low mid block. We don't vary our attack. It's very one note, no overlaps, just inverted, which is easy to defend, not clinical enough, not creating enough chances, not clinical, and we don't have enough problem solvers. And Arteta's like response to not scoring goals is to change out his DM. Simiso says, the sooner we realize that Arteta won't win us a major trophy, the better. The guy must improve his game management. Captain can't be bad overnight. Sell Martinelli and the guy will never improve. Millen says, it was a testimonial for Moyes. Guys, let's move on. Wayne says, best Odegaard, like for like, is Zinchenko in inverted systems. And Kedia's ex-lawyer says, all that this talk about profiles, and yet we don't have anyone who can dribble the ball at speed. Jerome says, I think it's bad when the fan base in large can see the problems, but the club and the manager won't address them. And what does that tell you? The club is consistent where they are or is content at where they are. And the interesting thing is that there is probably a section of people that don't feel like it's the manager. When we were after the Fulham game, there were a lot of people that were saying we created more than enough chances and the players just weren't clinical. And I'm just like, how many times are we going to say the players weren't clinical and we just created half chances? I don't understand. These players are not clinical, so you have to create more than one chance. You must. And you need to have a way of play that just creates chances naturally. Liverpool, you rarely find games where if they draw blanks and they're not creating chances, first of all, it's very few and far between that you see it. It's not multiple games in a row. It's like one-off chance. But most of the time when they draw blanks is because they just didn't score one of the a million chances that they created. You rarely see games where Liverpool are not creating chances, even when they have to go up against deep blocks, which is rare because I think teams also know that deep blocks don't work. Because what Liverpool are going to do is they're going to pepper you so much that you're going to have to come out anyway. And I think that's the problem is because now they've figured out that we cannot handle it and they know that they can get something out of it. They'll just continue. But if Arteta thinks and tries to figure out a way outside of what the fuck he's doing now, which is spamming crosses and passing slow, and we beat the deep blocks, people will stop doing deep blocks against us. They will, because you know what teams don't want? They don't want to be sitting in their box, getting peppered and concede a goal in the first four minutes because the opposition is just so good that your game plan is thrown out the window. So we lean into the deep blocks. We make it easier by the way that we play. Chelsea also don't struggle to create chances. It's just us. It's just us. It's just us. Cabela says, are we holding Saliba and Saka back? Yeah, by not just getting players that are at their standard, yes. Concrete says, I just don't understand the subs. I think everybody wanted those subs only to figure out that just switching players out doesn't change if you don't change the way that you play. And we need to pass quicker. If you just go back a couple of years and watch the difference between the way that we played then and the way that we play now. It's not just about personnel because a lot of those players are still there. It's the speed at which we played. The attack, we threw so many players forward. Ben White was right on the edges of the box. Zinchenko was on the edges of the box. They were so close in. It was like 6 or 7 players just like right there. And then we just basically had Saliba and Gabriel back. Now we have the DM back, the fullbacks are back, everyone is back. We have like 6 players back and only 4 players attacking, and only one can actually put the ball in the back of the net. So it's just, if you just change the players out, things are different, but they're pretty much the same if you don't speed shit up. Like, just speed the shit up a little bit. Just throw things, just, yeah, it's just crazy. Boy says, just these players can't do it again. Kenny says, what the F is this channel? Kenny, you're on the She Knows Arsenal channel. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out. Trini says, Martinelli has fallen off a cliff this year. His performance this season has been anemic. Burmy says, LFC and CFC have more talented individual players and are more forceful in attack. Johnny D says, 2 years ago, nobody saw us coming. Now everyone knows what our strong points are and are much better guarded. And we haven't done anything to counteract that. And that's the problem. Is you could say that last season that made sense, is that everybody figured us out. And so we needed to switch up our game last season. But, now at this stage, like, we shouldn't still be trying to figure out how to attack. You know what I mean? Jerome says, the Arsenal I fell in love with played quick one-touch passing and cut teams open. I'm cool with a more pragmatic game plan, but it's not working. Can we play with some finesse and some urgency? Televator says, did Wanyeri touch the ball today? He did. Jonathan says, it's gone stale. Best way to describe it. But yeah, well, I just don't. If Arteta goes into every press conference saying we did more than enough to win, we stopped them. I mean, nobody worries about playing against Everton. It's not about stopping Everton. It's the same thing that he said against Fulham. We gave them nothing. If all you care about is giving the team nothing and just nicking a couple of goals here and there, you literally cannot win the league. The team that wins the league is so good in attack more than anything. Of course, the defense has to be there as well. You can't just be wide open. But this is just so imbalanced. Of course, Everton didn't get anything. We have Gabriel and Saliba and Raya back there. Of course, they didn't get anything. They were never going to get anything. In fact, they set up for a draw. They didn't even try to attack us, Mikel. They just knew that if they stopped us from doing anything, that they would get something. They played for a draw and they got it. Stopping Fulham, we stopped Fulham from doing anything. Yeah, but they still got something out of that game. Like, I don't know why he keeps saying this whole, like, if we stop them from doing anything. It's just, yeah. The worst part about it is that he's not going to leave. Like, there is no change. Like, as much as we need one, and I've been saying it for like the last couple of weeks, that it's so obvious that we need something to change. We've hit a wall. If the manager's not going to change his tactics and the way that he sets up his team, and he's going to continue to try to buy players that don't change the game, because nobody's saying, like, when I talk to rivals that I actually rate their opinion because they're unbiased, none of them say we need to buy a different left back or a different DM. They don't talk about that shit because nobody in their right mind at the elite level talks about those things. Everyone knows that all we need is better attackers. Everyone says that. Nobody talks about needing a different anything else. Everything else is fine. Everything else is fine, whether it's Rice or Jorginho or Partey, whether it's Odegaard in bad form or not, whether it's whatever. Everybody just talks about just get a better left wing and a striker. It's just not that difficult. Roll Hill says the league was gone after the summer window. 3 signings who haven't improved us. We have regressed. Nah, I think Chelsea wins or fall out of the top 4. We will get him out. Tide is turning. I think if he walks, I think that's the only way. Arsenal don't make decisions. Decisions are made for them. So, like Jonas, he didn't even get sacked. He walked away. Otherwise, he'd still be the manager. He walked away when the tides turned on him, when he saw that the players weren't playing for him anymore. He left. He walked. He would still be the manager, and those players would still be playing the worst football I've ever seen them play if he had not left. They didn't even make the decision. And even still, after he's gone, he's been gone for months now, they haven't made a decision on the manager. They're just so calm, cool, and collected. They don't want to make a decision, so they're just staying with the interim. So Arsenal don't make decisions. Decisions are made for them. Arsene kind of had to leave. They made the decision on Emery, but they should have made it way before. They never made a decision on Arteta. They just let him ride out bad form after bad form, and we're still here. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to make a decision. I don't. Bruce says sacking Arteta on its own will not make a difference. Kroenke's hired him and gave him a new contract. Anton Dunn says Liverpool manager was annoyed at the end of the game that they drew with 10 men from early on. And most Arsenal fans would have accepted a loss with 10 men because they convinced themselves that you cannot play attacking football with 10 men. So when we played against Brighton and I was like, well, we should have still won the game, people were spitting up blood saying, oh, well, it's Brighton. You can't open up against Brighton. They're such a good side. You guys were at home. We should still create chances with 10 men. And we did. And they couldn't put it in the back of the net. So, of course, you can still attack with 10 men. We should have beat Man City. We shouldn't have crumbled at the end. We should have not lost to Bournemouth. The goals that we gave up were soft. And we should have beat Brighton at home. Like, come on. But yeah, Zayanda says, and it hurts me to say that United blitzed them 4-0, but we couldn't get a goal. Well, United are not afraid to attack. Like, they were afraid to attack us because we're a better side, and they knew the best way to get something was to sit in. But against a really bad team, United always go attack for attack. And most of the time they come out on top because they just have better attackers than the other team. And we never do that anymore. We never go attack for attack. We just sit in and pass slow, hope that they don't score, and we nick it. It's crazy. Jonathan says the fear and the handbrake mentality, safety comes first from Mikel. LFC is still attacked with 10 men, which doesn't go with the narrative because I was told you can't attack. Jessica, you're so stupid. You can't attack with 10 men. You have to sit in. You have to be negative. No, going to what was it, like a 7-9-0 or something like that didn't make any sense. Make sure you guys get your numbers in here. I think Ryan didn't have anything to do. He really didn't do anything wrong. It's going to be a very weird one because I actually feel like all of the defenders that started, including the goalkeeper, should just get like a 7 because they were our best players. Gabriel, Saliba, Timber, and MLS were our best players. I think the further up we got, the worse it got. In terms of like trying to do anything. And of course, as soon as we're trying to score goals, the only people that seem interested in scoring goals and getting us forward are Gabriel and Saliba. And it's just ridiculous, so everybody at the back is going to get pretty much the same score because I don't actually think that they were the problem today. Timber wasn't like his best game, but still like a 7. It was good. Saliba probably could give him a little bit higher. He was good. It was fine. Gabriel, good, fine, whatever. And also MLS. I was not underwhelmed by MLS's performance today. I think it was really good. I think the difference between the Monaco game and today was that when we played against Monaco, we tried to attack. And once we got up against that deep block against Everton, we just choked. But MLS still had some really good moments of passing, getting the ball. I think he should still maintain a spot when Calafiori is out. But it's kind of like, again, you have to change the style. But he'll also get like a 7. Like they were just like good. I actually think Declan Rice, when he came off, he was one of our better players. I know some people will choke at that, but I watched the timeline too, and a lot of people were surprised that he came off. And Arteta did say that it was because he felt something. But I thought he was good. Like he did make passes in between the lines, passes that people say that he can't make. For the most part, he was good. Could the pace be better? Yes, but no one speeds up the play. So I just think it's the manager telling them not to and to take your time because he's afraid for them to lose the ball. Saliba stands on the ball for long periods of time. Timber does. Declan does. They all just kind of stand on the ball for a long period of time and then just try to find these little sideways and backwards passes. And it's everybody does it. It's not just one person, but I actually think he was one of our better performers today. Came off, nothing changed. So it's whatever. I'm going to give him a 7 as well. Marino, I still don't have one for him. Marino, 6, just whatever. Average performance. And Odegaard probably has to get the worst. I mean, I don't know why your wife having a kid means that you cannot trap a ball anymore. I don't know what it is, but he needs to be sat. I just the level of performance is like I usually can see through the performances that are just like they're all right. And I'm like, they weren't that bad. Cause most of the time there's like a big group of Arsenal fans that jump on Odegaard whenever he's not perfect. And then say he was awful. I usually can see through those and be like, okay, well, it was more like an average performance. This was really bad. This was worse than Fulham. This was also worse than that first half against Man United. I don't get why he's fallen off of a cliff. It's just, and I don't get why we have so many players that just from one day to another just fall off of a cliff. This is very similar to Trossard's, like, boom, fall. Like, it's just done. Like, they can't do anything right. And so I don't think it's because Odegaard's not a good player. I see that narrative going around. It's, well, I told you he wasn't very good. I told you he was shit. You can't go from being one of our best players and one of the best players in the league to shit. Let's be adult here. You don't have to be like pedantic and childish. But in this game in particular, he was really, really poor. I have to give him a 4. He missed those opportunities, which in a season ago, 2 seasons ago, he puts in the back of the net. And his overall game was very sloppy and strange. And so I don't know what's going on with him, but I wouldn't start him against whoever we're playing next. I just feel he just cannot continue this. And I hate it. Gives me the ick when he plays players through bad form. I just feel like when you have other options, allow them to get their shit together off the pitch. Like Trossard was a suicide bomber for a month. Odegaard is going through into his 4th game playing poorly. Take them off, try something different. I know he's your captain, so I know that comes into play, but I just when the performances are this bad, when they're basically playing against you, you got to take them off. You really, really do. And Jorginho also came into midfield. Nothing really changed. Nothing like it's just we had already decided we were not going to score or win in that game, so the changes didn't change anything. So I'm going to give him like a 6. It was just like an average performance. Nothing really changed. Yeah, it was just whatever. Yeah, Partey came in the back. Don't know why he came on at all, to be honest. If he was going to come on, you should have just played him in his natural position. Arteta's getting really comfortable playing him at right back, and that's scaring me because it's like, stop playing players out of position. He's not good at right back. What is he going to add there? 6. And so who else came on? Wanyeri. Didn't really change the game that much, but again, when you make wholesale changes and change 5 players out and nothing changes, I look at the manager because nothing changed from your tactics. You just change players and hope that things changed, but you're so afraid to lose the ball that the players and you don't allow your players to move. Because if you wanted your players to move, if Mikel wanted his players to move, they would, because nobody does things that Arteta doesn't want. If they don't play for Arsenal. So 2 seasons gone by where nobody moves, they don't get close to each other, we don't pass and move, the tempo is slow. This is what he wants. So I feel bad for Wanyeri because he couldn't have like his, moment to really change the game, but nothing changed with the tactics. It was very much the same thing. And then up until like we got it to stoppage time, we weren't even taking risk and like throwing people forward. It was really like embarrassing. So 6 for him too. He wasn't terrible or anything. It was just like average, whatever. Saka was probably like our best player. But I mean, it wasn't like the best performance I've ever seen. I feel like he should have gotten an assist. But I could be wrong about that. I'm gonna give him a 7. I think he was good. But he can't do it all on his own. Havertz was non-existent. So, and I just feel like it's not so much that he's just like a terrible player. It's just when we play up against deep blocks, it's like not having anybody up there because he doesn't have the knack and the anticipation and the bullying of a striker that can just get your head on a ball or, when the ball is like a half chance, he can just stick his toe out and nick it into the goal. He's not that guy. And then equally, he doesn't have like the dribbling or anything to unlock anything either. I just feel like he was like non-existent 6. And Martinelli was bad too, but maybe not as bad as I think other people think he was. I just think he was like typical bad decisions. And we stopped attacking after the first 20 minutes. So we gave him a 6. Jesus 6. Like it's just average. Trossard 6. Like we had all the possession. It wasn't like they gave up the ball and we conceded, but everybody was just doing the same shit, passing it backwards, passing it slow, not beating their men. It was just wild. So everybody gets pretty much like that same score of like, just what did you do? Like for 60 minutes, it was just like we didn't do anything. We were just so patient. And it's almost like an arrogant patience, like eventually we'll get a goal. You have to force the issue, man. Boy says Havertz up front fails to deliver when it matters, per usual. Martinelli is just Martinelli. No need to be angry about him just being him. Exactly. Like I feel very indifferent about Martinelli. Theo says, how did Havertz attempt a single shot today? Did Havertz attempt a single shot today? No, he did not. Televator says Saka mediocre. Johnny says, I just pray that someone who can exist and that we can hire him. Kwame says Saka wasn't bad. I don't think he was bad either. Televator says the desperation when using the last sub in the 72-minute. Arteta knew he'd fucked up. I mean, he just needs to like not be afraid to throw men forward and attack. Like the players, I don't know, because somebody really like got upset with me for saying this the last time, but I don't feel bad saying these things. That I don't feel like they're playing with joy. I don't feel like the attackers are playing with joy. There's no smiles. There's no, people are not excited. They're just going through the motions. And so I feel like, Arteta needs to figure out a way to allow attackers to attack. And you know how attackers are. If they're not getting a lot of chances and the ball's not in that end all the time and, they're not given freedom to do what they want to do, they're not happy, and I just don't feel like our attackers are playing with any sort of joy. Saka's doing his job because that's who he is. He shines in a Southgate system. He shines in a bad Arteta system. But for the most part, everyone else, they just look dead. And so, just changing out 5 pieces and saying, cool, this is going to work, doesn't work when you don't give them any more freedom. You don't say, okay, you guys just stay high, get closer, put the pace up, and I'm just going to leave Declan and the center backs back. Everybody else just go forward, attack. He doesn't do that. YouTube user says Fabio Vieira is looking like a missing piece at the moment. Yeah, because you also don't have a player that has that passing ability in your team anymore to help you chase games, because he helped us more than once chasing games last season, but Arteta got rid of him and didn't replace that profile. So whatever. Boy says all we get from Ranieri playing in the league is clarity on Arteta's instructions to players. Kwame says Partey is a midfielder and not a right back. We know that. Jay says we needed Partey in the mid for his line breaking passes. Sure. Johnny says, why wasn't he cowardly against Sporting, Monaco, and City? He only gets Fulham, Everton, and Bournemouth. Why wasn't he cowardly against Sporting, Monaco, and City? He only gets Fulham, Everton, and Bournemouth. I don't know. Televator says the subs was great. The whole new game suddenly. Yeah, there wasn't any whole new game. Everything was the same. Mikel really failed to platform these players properly, always operating with the handbrake on. Most of you guys see it. I think it's pretty obvious what the problems are. Johnny says Marino is not that bad. He is not that good either yet. True. Burmy says, so will Crystal Palace set up like this for the Carabao Cup? We need to win that game to get into the semis. Probably. If I was a team, no matter who I was, unless I was Chelsea or Liverpool or City, I would sit in a low block. I would sit in a low block. I wouldn't move. I would let you have your first little 10 minutes of half trying to score a goal, not score, and then, then try to hit you. That's what I would do, because if we don't score in the first 15 minutes, we go 60 minutes without trying again. So yeah, Crystal Palace should sit in a deep block. They should. Um, 'Cause they'll play us at the Emirates first, so they can try it there. And if they get joy, they can do it at their spot. I mean, it's not looking good, you know. Kwame says, "Are you guys talking to each other?" And DAJ says, "A Chelsea reject is Arsenal's highest paid player." Shaking my head. Yeah, he is. Theo says, "We don't play good football. At best, we're pragmatic. At worst, we're the most boring team in the league. I wouldn't smile playing for that team." But I just don't understand. Maybe it's just the Wenger in me, but I just feel like most teams that actually attack their players play with some sort of joy and they really express themselves. But these players don't express themselves. They don't play anywhere near their level. Even if they're not good enough long term, they're like at 20% of who they actually are. And so if I knew I was going to come into a game, get maybe one chance, the ball was just going to go from side to side. We weren't going to try to penetrate. The manager is so afraid to get countered on that. I'm creating chances for DMs and fullbacks and shit, but nobody's creating chances for me. I would just be like, I'm tired. Oh, and then if I miss that one chance, then he's going to say it in the press conference. Johnny says, "I don't believe it. Someone misses Vieira, who only had 40 good games. Only had 1 in 40 good games. I'm rolling on the floor laughing." Listen, Kwame says, "Jess, Arteta is hoodwinked thinking Sterling will win trophies." I don't think he did think Sterling was going to win trophies. I just think they brought in somebody so that the Arsenal fans wouldn't bitch. IP says, "At this point, I just want Baena or Javi Simmons last season. Something is just missing." Jonathan says 2-1 to Forest. Alanga. I don't know who is playing Forest. Who's playing Forest? Is it Aston Villa? I don't know who's even playing Forest. What we really need to be hoping is that everybody that's the chasing pack for the top 4 keeps missing games and keeps fucking up, because we need it to be a very easy path to top 4, because if anybody puts pressure on us and there's 5 teams that are fighting for it, we won't make it. We won't make it. I guarantee it. We're just not good enough. So yeah, I think we better hope that nobody catches on to any sort of form and it just ends up being the 4 that's up there now, because we can't afford not to make top 4. So he says Villa. Kwame says Luis Enrique, the job is yours. I don't rate him. Boy says if we miss top 4, it's going to be so peak. And Ahmed says, "Even a shit Odegaard is our best creator, yet he takes him off for Jorginho, a 17-year-old in Trossard. He has no idea how to change a game." Odegaard had just started getting into those good positions. And I know that doesn't go with the narrative, because obviously he wasn't playing well. But he had just started getting into those good positions and getting Saka into the box. And he did. He took off Rice and he took off Odegaard. And then, then we just continue to be ass, So he's a weird guy, man. But there's 800 of you guys in here. Smash the likes. We've been going for about 2 hours. And I'm ready to check the fuck out, because we were the first game. And so now we have to go through the rest of the weekend knowing that we were ass. And it's so crazy because these draws feel like losses. They really do. And I'm tired, man. I don't know what else to do. I don't know how people can pretend to be positive about what we're going to achieve. But listen, I love you guys to death. Whether we agree or not, we're all in this together. And I will be back probably tomorrow to chit chat about the Manchester Derby and what happens in that game. But make sure you guys like and subscribe on the way out. And take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.